Now, you may have seen in the news that the Doomsday clock has been set to 90 seconds to midnight. That's the closest it's been since it was established in 1947. Established by a group of atomic scientists, its aim was to warn the world of the existential threat of nuclear war, and in that, it's been very successful. The word Doomsday immediately attracts our attention. If there was a things aren't so bad clock, would we pay much attention? Probably not. Because of our inbuilt negativity bias, Dr. Malie Coyne is a clinical psychologist and the author of Love In, Love Out. Malie, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I assume our negativity bias is a kind of a survival mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. Our brains are wired for survival. That's the most important human task, is for us to survive. And our brains have been wired in that way for, since the beginning of humanity. So it is a completely normal thing for people to focus more on the negative than on the positive, because it's a way to keep us safe. It's, if you're crossing a road and a car is about to run you over, you're not really thinking about, the kind of different things, the nice things about life or about rationalization. You're just thinking, I need to get out of Dodge.
So how do human beings progress at all then? Because that would kind of imply we'd be stuck in that kind of negativity cycle.
Yeah, I suppose we've developed a rational brain. So the negativity cycle is more related to our fight or flight response. The amygdala behind our ears, which, prompt us into action and release these chemicals in order to help us to fight, flight, or fight, flight. So what humans have since done then is we've developed a more rational brain, our prefrontal cortex, which is the top of your head, and that helps us to problem solve and to try to remain calm. So there's lots of things that you can do. It's almost like you have to consciously bring the rational and the positivity in, because your brain will instantly go towards the negative.
I suppose that's why so many things in our culture, negative things, tend to attract more attention. Fear always works.
Oh, it totally does. It's one of the studies, or many studies, have found that for every upsetting thing that happens, we need 5 positives to balance it. So negativity sticks so much in our brains that we need the positives to balance it out. And that's why it's so important for us to, the psychologists talk about the use of managing worries and, pausing, mindfulness, doing things, having balance in our lives in order to activate our rational brains. Because it's very hard if you're in fight or flight mode to actually activate your soothing, calming brain.
That's interesting. Last night I was having a conversation with one of my infinite supply of daughters, and we were talking about applying for jobs, and that in the course of your life, you might say, just for the sake of argument, that you might get 5 jobs and have a lovely, happy life because of those 5 jobs, but you'll always remember the 30 jobs you didn't get. That'll always stick in your mind.
Totally. And it's the same on social media or anything, any feedback. If you've just given a presentation, 99 people say you did great. One person said you did bad. And so you're going to constantly think of the person who said something bad, because as humans we also want to improve, and that's good in a way. We want to kind of take feedback. So it's not necessarily that this is a bad thing, but just some people are more prone to worry than others, and so therefore, the doomsday and the kind of global, the worry about climate change, about war, nuclear war, those kinds of things, even though it mightn't affect them on a daily basis, like right now, right here, it becomes more of a worry for them because they're more prone to it.
Is it possible, though, to set a balance? Because, while, you can't be obsessing on these things, you don't want to be Pollyanna-ish about it either.
Yeah, there's ways, there's a really good guide online. It's called Guide to Living with Worry and Anxiety Amidst Global Uncertainty, which is a psychology tools guide which came about during the pandemic and is free in PDF form online. And it talks about different types of worry. Real problem worries are about actual problems that need solutions right now. For example, the very real concern about the virus at the time, and probably still for many of us. And then there's hypothetical worries, which are about the current, about things that aren't necessarily going to affect you right now in this moment. So they kind of talk about maintaining balance in your life. So every day having something bringing you a sense of achievement and enjoyment and connection with other people, because that's what we need to do. But then also identifying whether your worry is a real problem worry or a hypothetical worry. And so if it's a hypothetical worry, you can maybe delay that worry a little bit. There is such a thing as called, delaying a worry, kind of saying, I'm going to worry about this now for like the next 10 minutes, but then I'm going to stop. Or else letting the worry go and focus on something that is important to you right now. So it's all about whether a worry is controllable right for you in this instance or not. And that can really help with worries.
Hard to do though, just switch off, say I'll give it 10 minutes and then I'll forget about it.
Yeah, but I guess it's just about, like, I do this when I've worked with many parents and kids, and they might have a worry box and they talk about worries at a specific time of the day. It's almost like your brain gets sick of thinking about the worry. so it's like reverse psychology. You're like, okay, I'm really going to think about this doomsday thing right now and all the different permutations of it and feel it in my body and all of that, and then kind of go, right, enough, I'm going for a walk, I'm just letting that go.
Yeah, okay.
For today. It's not to say you won't think about it tomorrow,
Yeah, okay. But then that requires a certain amount of will. I suppose, but could that also depend to a degree on your personality type? For some people that might be more difficult to let go of.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I would say, for anybody that's struggling where, this is when we know somebody might be, kind of clinically depressed or clinically anxious or have more of a difficulty than what they can manage alone, is when something that's more hypothetical really starts to impact on them, like something that might have happened to somebody else. They take it on board, and then you kind of know, right, that's more than maybe you can manage at the moment, and you might need some professional support. I always recommend people going to their GP or, people, going and seeking help from a health professional. There's such a thing as a Silver Clad program out there, which GPs can prescribe to you for free. It's a psychoeducational tool about anxiety and depression, which can really work for people. So I suppose it depends on how much this is impacting on your life and how long this has gone on for. That's what a psychologist would be looking at.
Yeah, I don't want to sound trite, but to reduce the amount one thinks about oneself, might an answer be to try and think about other people?
Yeah, that you would think about others instead of yourself, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally. And even just acknowledging the thoughts, like we have so many thoughts every second, and not all our thoughts are true. So it's like, okay, I'm really, my thoughts are quite gloomy at the moment. I'm just going to acknowledge that for myself, and even just being aware of it. But then, I think being a steward of your senses is also really important. So, if this doomsday talk, or if, kind of hypothetical worries, well, I mean, some people might think it's hypothetical, but other people might think it's a real worry. But, if that's really kind of getting in at you, then maybe stop watching the news for a while, or don't be looking at everything that's going to actually trigger that. So it's about kind of starting to listen to ourselves. Like looking at Instagram for an hour might make you not feel great, might make you feel good. So, maybe choosing not to do that, or watching 5 cycles of the news, do you know?
Yeah. If you had a magic wand, Malie, would you get rid of social media? Make everybody forget it ever existed?
I'd love to hear your thoughts, Sean. What do you think? Because you asked for a reason.
Well, just because it's obviously it's a multiplier of anxiety. It's an instant multiplier of anxiety. You cited the example yourself that you can go on any social media and 20 people say you're great, 5 people say no, you're a pile of crap, and that you're going to come out of that focusing on what the 5 people said.
Yeah, and I'm totally, I 100% agree. I mean, there was a program, say I was there was a program this week, Eating with the Enemy, right, that contestants were on, and for those maybe who weren't looking at social media when they were on it, they were less concerned, because I do a lot of TV assessment work, they were less concerned about the reaction from people than those who were on social media. So definitely, if you are, and I'm thinking, like, I've got an 11 and a 9-year-old, I'm constantly being pressured for them to start TikTok and this, that and the other, and I just kind of feel like it injects this level of negativity and difficulty, and it can be really positive as well for people to stay in touch with friends and to feel like they're in with the crew, but it also has a lot of negative effects, particularly for young brains who might find it hard to manage the balance.
Malie, thanks a million for speaking with us today. That was Dr. Malie Coyne there, a clinical psychologist and the author of Love In, Love Out.